The children have been outside gathering sticks for Sunday school. That's why you hear them on the stairs. Did you ever have the opportunity to visit the home where your mom or your dad or your grandparent or your great-grandparent grew up? In 2013, when my grandmother passed away, we were all together in St. Petersburg, Florida, for her service. And so we were able to drive past the house where my mom and her two sisters were raised. My mom had often told us how tiny, very tiny the house was. And it was indeed tiny. One of the things I remember her talking about was the little bedroom she shared with her two sisters and how the space was carefully divided among the three of them. They each had one wall with their twin bed, and the other wall had a dresser with 3 drawers, and they each had 1 drawer. And there was a closet with 3 shelves, and they each had 1 shelf. And then in the middle of the room was a red table, and that was safe for everyone to touch. So you stayed by your bed, and then the table was shared space. Eventually, when my mom got into middle school, she was the eldest, things got a little too tight. So she opted to sleep in the garage. Separate room from the house, not insulated, but she took her room out there to find some space. Sometimes in our lives, space comes at a premium, not only in bedrooms, not only in real estate, but spiritually. In families, siblings often fight to find space for their individual personalities to shine. I don't know if you ever felt this with your siblings. I went to high school with 2 brothers, and the older brother was so perfect. I mean, he was tall and athletic and the captain of the football team and got straight A's and did everything right. And then that younger brother, I just felt so bad for him. How was he ever going to live up to his big brother? I'm not sure how he turned out. I'll have to Google him, right? But I always worried about that guy. Quite often in our lives, we find ourselves needing room for our spirits. Certain life events leave us needing room to grieve, space to heal. There are situations in which we might feel we don't have enough room to grow or develop. I learned from Pastor Liwa when I went to her beautiful home in her yard that goldfish grow bigger or smaller based on the size of their water, their tank or their pond. And so if a goldfish is kept in a small bowl, it will never grow bigger. It will stay right where it is. In our psalm this morning, the psalmist says to God, "You gave me room when I was in distress. You gave me room." Other places in the Psalms talk about God bringing people into a spacious place or a broad place in time of trouble. What might it mean that God gave him room when he was in distress? Instead of being hemmed in or feeling trapped or having nowhere to turn, God, it sounds like, granted freedom and open doors and options and time to regroup. Can you think of a time in your life when you were given room to heal, room to imagine, room to explore? You know, I shared with the children about dressing up as a mom for career day. Even when I went to divinity school, I had no intention of becoming a pastor. I had not known any women pastors in my life. I planned to become a missionary until in my 2nd year of my master's degree, I had a required field education where I had to serve as an assistant pastor in a church for a year. And after that year at Ellis Avenue Church in Chicago, I found that calling. I realized where my place was because I had room to explore. Sometimes we need room, and I know this is true, very true, for many of us in this church, room to think and wonder, room to ask questions, room to come to a belief or an idea in our own integrity. And we need room as human beings, and our children need room to fail, which is another way of saying room to try new things. There's a song I love. It's written by a singer named Martin Sexton. If you've never heard him, look him up. He's interesting. And he describes the way that failure led him to discover his true gifts. The words say, "Thank you, failure, for all those things I could not do. So much of my life, it's all I ever knew. Thank you, failure, for the mighty music. Change is in my heart. You know the dreams that chose me. You made the dreams that chose me come true." We know that children learn best when they are free to try and free to learn by making mistakes, but have loving adults to catch them in that failure and make it constructive failure. Maybe we have needed a physical place, a physical space to start fresh. I think about these women Liz shared about a safe place to begin anew. And sometimes we need room, as in time, room to process, to rethink, to make sense of things, to get ready for what is next. Psalm 4 also talks about a happiness that is not connected to material things. Verses 6 and 7 say this: "There are many who say, 'Oh, that we might see some good. Let the light of your face shine on us, O Lord.' But you have put gladness in my heart more than when their grain and wine abound." That gladness in my heart, a deep sense of well-being that can remain with us in difficult times, for that is when we most need it. That is what we invest in when we spend time nurturing our spiritual health, even especially in seasons of calm. Every year on this day, the third Sunday of Easter, the wider church, the Church Universal, celebrates Good Shepherd Sunday and reads this text from the Gospel of John. When we think about who Jesus is and reflect upon ourselves in relationship to the divine, the shepherd of love is a powerful image, and even a surprising one, that God, although infinite, isn't distant, but relates to us by name and in love. And also that God would seek our welfare, even to the point of self-risk. There is a certain peace, a certain joy in knowing that one is beloved in this way. Psalm 4:8 says, "I will both lie down and sleep in peace. For you alone, O Lord, make me lie down in safety." Like a child who sleeps so soundly in the strangest places. Did your children ever fall asleep in weird places on the jostling subway or in a crowded restaurant? Or like Ned last week, who fell asleep on the exam table in the doctor's office? Very relaxed. They relax like that because they understand deep within them that someone else is on guard. They do not have to be watchful or anxious. We too hope to live with that type of confidence, that type of freedom, that someone else is on guard. Not a confidence that everything will go well, for certainly we know that it doesn't, but a confidence that come what may, we will be surrounded by the love of God, that the love of God will hold fast. Today, let us understand and meditate upon these promises about God's character, that even in the chaos of our human condition, God is not distant. God is not uncaring. God is shepherding, enfolding, and loving. Amen.